My name's Tom Ross, and welcome to the Honest Entrepreneur Show, where I'm bringing you tried and tested advice to help your online business without any of the bullshit. Today, I'm going to be sharing my top 8 Instagram hacks to help your business and brand. I have become obsessed with Instagram lately. And yes, I realize I'm incredibly late to the party, but since my more recent foray into my personal brand and everything I'm building here, I've seriously immersed myself in learning the platform, seeing what works and what doesn't. And public disclaimer here, but yes, my follower count is still pretty fledgling, but my engagement is through the roof, and I'm sharing these tactics with friends that have way bigger followers than I do. And the good news is, whether your audience is small or large, this stuff absolutely works every time. Now, there are a ton of Instagram hacks out there on YouTube and podcasts, and most of them tend to fall into the categories of, follow for follow or comment hubs and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff doesn't sit all that well with me. It kind of falls into like gaming the system and spam city and that kind of thing. The good news is there are some tactics that work incredibly well and they aren't lame. Today, I'm going to share 8 of my absolute favorite Instagram hacks. And I promise you, even if you know a couple of these, I guarantee you will not know all of them. You won't be using all of them. So keep watching and stay tuned. Hack number 1 is story polls, but with a twist. One of my favorite tactics right now is utilizing Instagram's story polls, but with a twist. And that twist is integrating this technique with direct messaging. Let me explain. When you post something on your profile, it often feels like shouting into the void. And let's say you've got a new product or something, you post it on your profile, you don't really have an idea for exactly the people that have seen it, how they feel about it, if they care about it. And the whole thing's quite passive. You're putting it out to the world, and then you're kind of passively sitting back, hoping people care and hoping they come back to you and make the order or sign up for the course or whatever it might be. Instead, you can use story polls. Now, let's say you're selling adorable little miniature chalkboards with hand lettering on them. Do a series of compelling Instagram stories about this. Show how adorable the chalkboards are. Show the process of doing the hand lettering. Weave a narrative to make this product compelling to those watching your stories. And then near the end of this narrative, simply do a little story poll saying, would you pay $10 for one of these? Yes or no? For the people that voted yes, DM every single one of them, follow up saying, thank you so much. I'd love to get you one of these, and then work with them to complete the order. The beauty of this is it's lower friction. Imagine this, someone sees something on your profile and recognize that people have very low attention spans on social media. So they see it on the profile and they think, that looks nice. But then they have to take the step of reading through the description to work out how to actually potentially buy it from you or check it out and do that next action. So they read the description, then they have to go back up, they have to click a link on your profile, they have to potentially direct message you, and then write out a message showing their interest. It's all quite long and convoluted. What the polls do is they take all the friction out, because essentially people are already watching your story and they have to click one time. And that one click is them putting a hand in the air and saying, I'm interested. I'm a potential customer. If people vote no, and some of them will, then this is gold too. Reach out to them, obviously not pushing anything, not trying to sell them anything, but try to understand and get their open, honest feedback about why they weren't interested. And this is fantastic because this lets you then take on board that feedback, understand your customer objections, and then refine your product and your marketing based on this and do a better job in the future. The beauty of this technique is you can use it for virtually anything, whether you're selling a product, hosting an event, trying to understand if people know that you have a YouTube yet. You can use it for all that stuff and it really works. Hack number 2 is video responses in the DM. Something I do all the time with my community is send personal video responses if they DM me. And I get quite a few DMs every day with people struggling with stuff, asking for advice, asking questions. And I love that. But I remember I first started doing this because I'm not the fastest typer on a phone. For me, it was just quicker to pick it up, shoot a little 10-15 second video and give them a more direct answer than me having to write an essay back to them. However, I'd be lying if I said that was my only motivation. Alongside this, I knew it would be effective marketing. It's effective marketing because it lets me differentiate myself and stand out. Virtually no one else is bothering to do this. So virtually every time when I do it, I get a response along the lines of, wow, I really didn't expect that. Like, how cool or how personal, or like it's really nice to get personal video. It also deepens that human connection, which is something I push all the time in my content. I think we should be less about the numbers, more about the relationships, right? And what better way than to have you there as a talking face, as a video. And often what I see on the back of this is people get comfortable enough to start video messaging back. So before you know it, you're not two faceless people, two accounts on Instagram texting each other, essentially. You're two human beings having a face-to-face conversation within that Instagram realm. And of course, you can also get so much more emotion and intonation into what you're saying in a video as opposed to text. And some cool stuff happens from this. So when I started getting into doing this initially, I had people who would be sending me messages from like a field in the Netherlands or Grand Central Station and like all these cool places. And it just makes it much more interesting and interactive with your followers. Hack number 3 is video calls. This is kind of building on the last point. But instead of just sending a video, you can actually click the icon in the top right and have a kind of real-time FaceTime style video conversation with your followers. This is so effective because if you're like me and you enjoy helping your followers, which all of you should, I recommend, then it can be the perfect kind of shortcut to building that relationship. Often if I'm kind of texting back and forward with someone in DM, I can say, you know what, do you mind if I video call you? Obviously get their permission before just out of the blue calling them. But more often than not, they will say, yep, that's cool. Or you can schedule it in. And you just pick up and you have a 5, 10, 30-minute conversation, whatever you want. And it really deepens that relationship and it really lets you kind of get to the crux of what they actually need help with and bring them real value. And I've done this with a few people now. And it can be everything from like answering a quick question to talking someone down off the ledge because they're having an absolute crisis in their business and they need calming down. So yeah, highly recommended. You know, I'm all about the human side of marketing. This is a great way to do it. And far too many people ignore this feature right now. Hack number 4 is utilizing group DMs. If you have a group of followers that are particularly engaged, they're particularly supportive of your brand and your content, I absolutely advocate getting this group of people into a group message kind of scenario, a group DM. The benefits here are numerous. It lets you build a deeper relationship with these people, but also lets them start to build relationships and friendships with one another. And this is a really powerful thing because you're basically banding together all of the people that are kind of driving your community and your content forward, and you're getting them under one roof. And this is awesome to see because often you can see these relationships flourishing. You can all kind of get inside jokes and just have a laugh together. You might have seen, if you follow my content, me doing this with Tom's Tribe. And that's one of my favorite groups in the world. I love those guys. They're awesome. And it just lets me interact with them on a more regular basis. Obviously, you want to always try and provide maximum value. You want to genuinely hang out with them and not use them. Remember, serve your audience, don't use them, as my mentors said to me once. But, you know, you can use it for some cool stuff as well. So before shooting this episode, I said, hey guys, I'd love to know like any recent struggles. I really need some ideas for upcoming episodes for this show. And so I start then getting suggestions from them. And so for that kind of thing, it's fantastic as well. Tip number 5 is message as many of your followers as you can with a simple sign of appreciation. Now, before I hear the cries of this is totally unscalable, I've done it. I've encouraged many people to do it. It works incredibly well. So try this. Go through your list of followers and reach out to as many as you can. Direct message them and just say, hey, just wanted to say thank you so much for following me. Thank you for supporting my content. I really genuinely appreciate it. And let me know if you're struggling with anything, if you need any advice, I would love to help. This simple act goes so far. People love to feel acknowledged. They love to feel paid attention to. As I've talked about, if you're over there looking at your next 1,000 followers and neglecting the existing 1,000 you have, something is very kind of needs rewiring in your marketing, in my opinion. You've got to pay attention. You've got to cultivate relationships with your existing people. And what better way to do that than reaching out and instead of spamming them like 99% of people, just saying a simple thank you, you're awesome, I appreciate you. The beauty of this is it opens up all kinds of relationships, connections, and conversations. These are people who very likely might not have actually bothered to engage on the post on your profile, but suddenly you'll be chatting to them. And if you send out enough of for these, and you can do so pretty rapidly. In about 35 minutes, I sent 60 plus of these out. So you can do it at scale, and you can do it regularly every day. And when you start to do this, notice your inbox starts to get flooded. It fills up very, very quickly because these people come back, they're super warm, they're super positive that you've bothered to reach out to them and acknowledge them. And from there, you can really, really build amazing relationships, learn more about your followers, and figure out even better ways to bring them value and help them. Tip number 6 is try an ongoing contest to encourage more engagement. I realize this is a little bit kind of like game the system, like I mentioned at the start, but it's also fun, awesome, and it works. And best of all, it's currently within Instagram's terms of service. You may have seen some larger influencers try this, like for example, Gary Vee with his 60-second club. How this basically works is he encourages his audience to like and leave a comment on a post within 60 seconds of it going live. And then he will pick winners at random each week and send them cool prizes, merchandise, calls with him, and that kind of thing. By doing this, he gets a flurry of engagement and comments and likes straight away when he posts, because people often turn on notifications in order to see the post to comment nice and early. And this propels his posts into the Discover section, which gets them seen by a much wider organic audience than they would naturally attract. Whilst Gary has a full-time team helping with a lot of these efforts, it's absolutely something that you and I can do ourselves. In fact, I'm kicking off my own initiative around this, which I'm going to call 45 Live. So I've worked out for the remainder of this year, there's probably about 45 weeks I'm not going to be on vacation remaining. And so I'm going to fit in 45 calls where it's going to be one call on each of those weeks where I give 1 hour of my time dedicated consultancy to one lucky winner out of the people that engage with all of my content. Not only that, but I'm going to be doing a split screen live with them so I can chat in real time with them, and it will be broadcast out to my wider community, hopefully providing them with additional value and me with additional content. Now, hopefully the benefits of this you can see are pretty immense. I've consulted for hundreds of dollars an hour in the past. So to be able to give that dedicated time and really make breakthroughs for someone's business is a prize which already my community, when I mentioned it, are jumping all over. So I predict, it'll be a fun thing for them. It will really help the people who I'm helping directly. It will help the wider people who are paying attention to those calls. And I do believe it will spike my engagement in the process and get me discovered by a wider audience. So yeah, look out for it soon, guys. Hashtag 45 Live. Number 7, something I just touched on, is doing split screen Instagram lives. I believe as the organic reach on Instagram does start to shift the wrong way, unfortunately, lives are a great way to stand out. Again, they differentiate you. A lot of people aren't comfortable enough on video to go live. So for the people that do, they start to over-index with the attention and the eyeballs they bring in. I love that your followers get a notification when you go live. Again, a great way to kind of bring attention around what you're doing. But the very nature of split screen lives means you're sharing that screen with someone else, which means that both sets of audiences are being exposed to both people. Their audience are going to start discovering you, and your audience are going to start discovering them. It's ultimate cross-pollination, and it's win-win. And you can have a lot of fun with these. You can just hang out. Often I do these and do Q&A from both sets of audiences, or you can treat it like a podcast. You can just chat for an hour around a subject or a topic. And the beauty is, if you're good enough, if you bring enough value, enough quality, you can absolutely do these split screen lives with people with a much bigger following than you. So I've got a few lined up where these people dwarf me in terms of their audience, but much like a podcast, they're happy to have me on because they believe I'm going to bring enough value to their audience and cover enough topics and that kind of thing, that it's going to make it a really fun exercise. And so when I've done these with people with larger audiences, funny enough, after the call, I then see a bunch of new followers and new fans because they believe in my content on the back of what happened on that call. Within this, don't be afraid to have a call to action at the end. So, you could do it mutually for each other where you say, oh, by the way, to all my followers on the call, be sure to go check out the other person's following, and then they do the same for you. But don't be afraid to make that ask. If you bought an hour of like straight fire and value for both sets of audiences, it's totally cool to be like, by the way, you should come follow us, check out, because we've got a lot more content coming like this in the future. And finally, hack number 8 is consistency. Now, I almost didn't want to mention this one, and I did leave it until the end because I almost feel like it's too obvious. But I do think I should mention it because I consistently see what I did there, so many people not applying consistency to their feeds. The way I think about Instagram is someone jumps on your profile, right? And the ideal is they see a consistent style, a consistent feed of work, and they think, man, I love what this guy or girl posts, and therefore I'm going to follow them because I know I'm probably going to receive more content in that vein. If your feed is a jumbled, inconsistent mess, this won't happen because they think if I follow them, I don't really know what to expect because it's like 10 different things being posted this week of completely different styles. And in the spirit of being the honest entrepreneur, we've done a pretty terrible job, in my opinion, with our company's Instagram at Design Cuts for this reason. We started with a very varied feed. One day we're posting like clips of me talking on our podcast or a guest speaking on the podcast. Next day it's like a kind of beautiful design. Next day it's a tutorial. Next day it's promoting a new product. And they're all completely disconnected. And therefore that platform, even though it's got 18,000 followers plus, it's kind of stagnant because we've neglected it. So what we're doing now is we're starting to have a highly curated, consistent feed where people are going to know exactly what to expect moving forwards. And even though it's just a few days into this approach, instantly I can see more traction happening. So I will report back on that, but this is absolutely something I always see works. I always know works. I've helped several people with this. And as soon as they slip into that consistency, they start to see more traction happening. And for the record, I'm not talking about the super lame thing where people are like every third picture is orange and then every second picture is pink. So when someone loads it up, it's like this grid of color palette. Like if you're going that curated, fill your boots. But for me, that is... it doesn't have much substance. I think if you see a hand letterer and every piece has like a distinct style, that's different. If it's like this kind of weird collage and it's more about the beauty of the overlays than the actual content itself, that's not where my head's at with this stuff. So yeah, audit your content right now, work out, is it consistent? Is it not? How can you make it more consistent? And yes, it's okay to kind of keep trying stuff, but realize it will limit your traction. You can try new messaging, you can try new ideas, but try and keep it under one style. And if you haven't found your style, pay attention to what you enjoy doing the most and what people resonate with most. That's generally a pretty good indication. If you have some posts that are really over-indexing and you got a kick out of making it, start doing more stuff like that. And you'll find your feed start to creep towards a more consistent style and get that attention it deserves. That's all from me today, guys. I really hope these hacks helped. I like doing these episodes, to be honest. I like this tactical stuff. I like sharing the kind of actual behind the scenes stuff that I'm doing, that I'm employing, kind of bearing all so that you guys can see how it all works. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this episode, if you're going to go and employ some of these tactics and how they work out for you. That's it from me. I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks so much for watching this episode. Really, really appreciate you being here with me. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe right here on YouTube. Remember, tick the little bell icon so that you get proper notifications. I really hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you'll stick around for the upcoming episodes. I really want to keep bringing you as much value as possible. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you guys soon.